folks, we're waiting for Dave, and as promised, we have. I got to tell you, we're always so fortunate that we get to talk to all kinds of different people. This gentleman needs no introduction. We're going to introduce him anyway. He's got a very, very, very cool new project, and all the way from Akron, Ohio, we have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Tim Ripper Owens.
And here he comes.
G'day, sir.
Hello.
So thanks for joining us here.
Yes, it's great to be here. This is awesome.
So let's jump right in, okay? You have a new project on the go, and I don't even want to ruin it by telling everybody what it is. So why don't you tell our viewers exactly what you're up to right now?
Well, usually I'm up to a whole bunch of stuff. Everybody knows that as a fan, but this one was the big one, which was released. The news was released last year with KK and myself and friends doing KK's Priest. Getting back, KK getting there, writing some killer tunes and getting together and putting a record out. We started this before COVID hit, right before COVID hit, and it's finally going to come out.
And I heard that first tune, and I mean, it's it sounds like new. It doesn't, like, I think everybody maybe expected it to sound like old Priest, but it sounds really fresh. What was the process of putting that whole thing together? Because obviously you guys probably couldn't be in a room, so you had to file share, do all that stuff. What was the process of putting that together?
Funny is, most of my vocals, it was I came home in the beginning of March, so I mean last year. So I just got out of there. So I did my vocals there, and the drums were done, and we both just got out of flew home right before that. So we really did a lot together. I came home and did a lot in my studio here and redid a lot of stuff, and not a whole lot, but a couple things. But, KK had written it, and I keep telling people, I don't know what they expect, but KK's been a Judas, the heart and soul, along with Glenn, of writing song, and Rob for Judas Priest for years. This is how he writes. This is his songwriting. He's going to have this type of stuff. But you're right. It's KK writing for KK and fans. He's not trying to just go, this is what I have to do. He just wrote like KK. Unbelievable record. It's got straight at you, like, Hellfire Thunderbolt. And then when Sermons in the Sinner comes out, it's going to blow people's face off. The first 3 songs out of the gate are just right at you. But it's got elements of stick your fists up in the air and sing along and drive down the road, and songs for the fans, songs about being on the road. My favorite song is a song called The Return of the Sentinel. And I absolutely love it. It's like an epic song. So yeah, I mean, KK just said, here, check these songs out, Tim. This is what I've been doing. I'm like, wow, this stuff is unbelievable.
So it must have been neat for you, after not, I guess, working with them for so long, to kind of get back in. And then the thing that I don't necessarily surprise me, but Les Binks comes in, who was with them years ago, and he sounded amazing too. I mean, I'm a drummer myself, and what are you going to get from a guy you haven't heard? And it was like, wow, he just sounded incredible.
Well, Les, you know what happened? Les ended up not doing the record at the last minute.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But we got my buddy to do it. That's like a Les project. You know what happened was, Les, right when we're getting ready to record the record, I go over there, get ready to do the vocals. And because Les did the live show in November, and it was like, man, this is so great, because Les is just classic, and no one sees a lot of Les because he did Judas Priest and then kind of was gone, but he hurt his arm, and I think just wasn't sure it was just going to be able to do it, So we just had to go, listen, we're going to have to we got to make a band. We got to move on. So Les is going to come out and do shows and hang out. It was pretty demanding stuff on the record too, So that was, I was, glad to get Sean to do it. Sean plays in the 3 Tremors with me, and he's a band called Cage. A youngster that's just full of heavy metal. But yeah, it's a great record.
So, you're going in to do the vocals on that. In terms of what you got to lay down and your contribution, was it really carte blanche? Like, was it do what you're going to do, or were they kind of saying they wanted you to go in a certain vein, or was it full on? What was your approach to it?
Well, they had stuff written and had a nice template there for me to do, but they did it for me, So because I think Ken really wanted to he wanted to show what he could do. I mean, he's never done anything but Judas Priest. He's really, you think about, everybody's always branched out, and Glenn made a solo record, and Ken just wanted to do Judas Priest. That's the songs he wrote his whole career. So I think this one was like, well, now that I'm not Judas Priest anymore, I'm gonna do what I do. And that was, he's worked with me. AJ, the other guitar player, is friends with me and been coming out watching me for years. So they knew really what to do. Let's do this and write it for Tim. And then I had a lot of say on changing some things around, and what voice I wanted to sing it in, maybe doing the Kate, singing it a little bit different. So, but it was such great material to start with that I was like, man, this is awesome. It's like someone just handed me something I had written.
And do you feel it might have been written with you in mind? Obviously, you knew you were going to go in there, but do you feel it was written with you in mind, or maybe any? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, Ken knows everything about me and doing those records. Like I said, AJ was such a fan of the Priest, my Priest era, and he's been friends and stuff. They all knew what they were doing, so it's like, okay, here's Tim's going to sing this. This is what has to be done, And listen, I write nonstop. I just wrote a song here today. I'm in my studio here singing every single day for bands all over the world and musicians every day. Either I'm doing their stuff or I'm writing stuff for them. So it's refreshing to go into something that is kind of already there. It's really easy to deal with and work with because it was for you.
So I was doing a little research on just kind of what you've done over the last many number of years. And the first thing, I guess, pre-COVID, like, do you ever take a day off? You've had so many projects on the go. Not a single one of them really, none of them, fall down. And it's, you've done stuff with Malmsteen and Judas Priest, and you do Dio Disciples and all that. Do you take a day off?
I don't, that a couple of years ago, I put 3 records out like in the same month, even though they were recorded at different times, but I put the 3 Trimmers, A New Revenge, and Spirits of Fire all out, 3 different record labels. I don't think the record labels were very happy, but they just happened to come out at the same time. And yeah, I mean, listen, I'm a musician. You pay the bills by being a musician, and I'm lucky enough that I get to do these things. Usually I tour solo. That's the thing. It takes up 75-80% of my time during the years. I tour solo. When COVID hit, that took that away. So I've probably recorded on, man, I can't even tell you how many, 30, 40 CDs or different, artist records this past year. One song, listen, I'm working on this band called Pyramid right now. It's a prog rock metal band. I did a whole record for him, and then he started sending me more stuff, and I've basically done about 2 records for him, enough music, because I just sit in here and sing and do it. So yeah, I stay busy. Like I said, I was lucky because when COVID hit, I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I got to go get a regular job first time in which I'm fine with doing. I mean, I'm not, I absolutely, I'll figure something out. But when I posted one day on Facebook, social media, that, hey, I can guest on your record if anybody wants me to guest on a song. And boy, it keeps me busy, man. I'm in here every single day doing it. And I'm lucky that I was able to do that this past year. I can't wait to get back to touring, though.
Sure. But that's interesting that, you put that call out in social media, and all of a sudden that's another, because we talk about this a lot on our show where people had to get into the live streaming, and that sort of aspect, I think, is something that for the smart people is not going to go away. It's going to stay there in some shape or form. Would you agree with that? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, a lot of different ways to do things nowadays, and what I think is cool about the way I did this, I work with different artists in different ways. It might be somebody who doesn't have money. So I work with everybody, the price, everything kind of goes all over the place because I always go, what do you want to pay? And then we kind of go from there. But what happens is we grew up, we couldn't, I couldn't imagine, doing a record and saying, hey, whatever guitar player, Dimebag, can you play? Now, he probably would have, though, so I probably picked the wrong person. But hey, KK, can you play on my record? Just some normal dudes, that wasn't what you did, but it's a whole different era with everything, and now these avenues of people being able to have me do it. I know people say to me, you do way too much, stick with one band. Well, you can't do that as a musician nowadays. You can't. I wouldn't even be able to probably stick with just KKs. I got to do music all year long. And this, you're able to reach out with this, you know, like you said, streaming and these people doing these live concerts and these live shows, just different way to do things, you know.
Right on. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a little break. We're gonna pay some bills, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna. I'm gonna hit you with something because you were talking earlier about Nova Scotia. So I had one of our members wanted me to ask you something, if that's all right on
Okay.
the flip side. All right.
Yeah.